All right, Coach. Uh, ferocious comeback effort, but ultimately a tough one at home. How are you feeling after that one?
Yeah, very, very disappointing. I think our guys have been pretty good this year at having a game plan and executing and coming out of the gates ready to go. It's a hard lesson to learn, against a good Montana team to dig ourselves that kind of hole. So we're going to have to go back to the film and figure out exactly what happened. But our defensive coverages we broke down multiple times, and I just didn't feel like we had enough aggression coming out of the gates. And we'll talk about it as a group. We'll learn. We'll get better. But disappointing start. Now, with that said, I thought our response in the second half was good. We need to be a team who kind of withstand some highs and lows and continue to battle. And I thought that the second half effort, Biko Johnson did a really good job for us defensively. Brody Roberry had some good moments on the interior. And our guys battled, and I think the crowd really stuck with us and brought us some good energy in the second half to help us bring it all the way back. But you dig yourself that kind of hole to start the game, it's hard to overcome.
What do you think flipped that switch between the halves? Like obviously, going down 22-4 in the first half and coming back to the point where you got the lead at one point. What do you think flipped that switch where you guys came out firing in the second half?
Yeah, it's about fight. It's about competitive spirit. When things aren't going your way, it's a life lesson as much as it is a basketball lesson. But when things aren't going your way, you can tuck your tail and run, or you can stick your chest out and you can fight a little bit. And I thought for the first 16 minutes of the game, we kind of tucked our tail a little bit and weren't ready for the fight. But we dug in. I thought our bench energy came alive a little bit. We found a way to spark it and cut it back to a 14-point game at half, and then coming out of the gates in the second half, I thought the guys brought the fire, and it was more like the Idaho basketball we want to play.
Questions for Coach?
What all did you try to do to stop Williams?
Yeah, we tried. We spent a lot of time this week on not allowing him to get to the free throw line. He is dynamic and he draws fouls extremely well. He's a very hard player to officiate. And we spent a lot of time trying to have high hands and have good gap activity and make his reads tougher. But credit him in the second half, his ability to get to the free throw line really hurt us. We mix our ball screen coverages up a little bit, try to keep him off his left hand, but he's very shifty, and there's a reason why he has the success that he does. We'll have to go back to the film and look at areas where he could have helped more and provided more gap activity. There is a stretch where we tried to deny him the basketball. But again, players like that, especially with the amount of shooting they have on the court, they're able to make plays in space.
Can you talk about the crowd on a night like this? Almost 1,800 people, on a Thursday night without students. What that means to you and your program?
Yeah, just very grateful for the Vandal fans for coming out tonight. I thought when we did get the energy where it needed to be and made a couple plays, I heard the fans. The entire arena was bringing energy, and that's what we're trying to build here is a program that Vandal Nation can be proud of. And I thought the second half, the energy in the building, you could really feel it. It was visceral. It was special. I wish we could have, come out on top and kind of honored the fans the right way for that energy they were bringing. But we're going to need them to continue to show up. All these Big Sky games come down to one or two possessions.
What is that? This is like going back to the beginning of the season. This is some of the least amount of time we've had to digest a tough loss before the next game's upon us. What does that process look like from here when 2 days from now Montana State will be here?
Yeah, we're gonna have to get reset quick. Emotional game, physical game. Our guys need to make sure they get some sleep, hydrate, get their treatment, and their recovery tonight. But tomorrow we're going to shift gears quickly. We call it a one-day prep. We're going to have to lock in on Montana State and win the preparation against them. Very good ball club. It's just another challenge for us. So I think the routine is pretty well set. We had the road trip to California right before the break to kind of mimic this a little bit. So hopefully we learn some lessons there and can get reset quickly for this one-day turnaround.
It looked like they were sagging their defense, but they did a really good job of keeping you guys away from the rim. It seemed like it was really just hard for you guys to get there almost the whole game. Yeah,
I thought we did a good job pounding the ball inside late. They mixed in a post double throughout the game, which made things a little bit hard on us. But I thought our bigs made pretty good reads. We'll have to go back and look at our shot selection. We call it shot quality. Look at the quality of the shots we were getting. But it's rare to have Colton Mitchell and Biko Johnson shoot the ball the way they did. They're very elite three-point shooters, and everybody in our locker room trusts them. And we'll just hopefully the tide turns on Saturday.
You guys were beasts on the offensive glass, though.
Yeah, it's rare that you lose a game when you win 17-4 on the offensive glass. And Montana, we've been talking about this from the start of the week. Montana has this. Their men's basketball program has this aura about them that they're just more physical and tougher, and they have a little swagger about them. And we really were trying to be intentional about coming out of the gates as the more physical team. And you know, you look at the numbers, having 17 offensive rebounds to their 4, you know, an argument can be made that we were the more physical team. We just surprisingly had our worst shooting, you know, performance of the season. And so it's disappointing. Again, I think the slow start combined with the poor shooting is kind of the recipe for what happened tonight. But we got to control what's ahead of us, which is preparing for Montana State.
21-5 on the bench points. You guys outscored them. How much were those guys key in pushing for that comeback?
Yeah, you know, I think we have a deep team. It was nice to get Jack Payne back, you know, bringing him back in the rotation. Hopefully we can find a little rhythm and go back to the way we were playing in the preseason with those rotations. But I thought Isaiah Brickner gave us really good minutes. Seth Joba had some really good sparks for us as well. So I do think we have a deep group. And, you know, everybody that touched the court tonight gave us something positive, and we just need to keep building on that.
Were there any guys special on the team that helped you guys dig your heels and get stabilized and come back from that?
Yeah, I thought a huge part of our turnaround early in the second half was we shifted Biko Johnson onto Money Williams, and Biko, just his competitive spirit, really helped us kind of force some tougher shots with Money. He had a couple turnovers there and some tougher contested mid-ranges, and those stops allowed us to build a little momentum. That's when we got back in the game, is when we shifted Biko onto Money and made his shots a little bit more difficult, and then started to play with a little better pace offensively.
Any more questions for Coach?
All right, thank you guys. Go Vandals.